These are the waiver wire pickups for week 2. Number 1 on the list is Isaiah Likeley. Likeley caught 9 of 12 targets on his way to a team-high 111 yards receiving. He also had 1 touchdown and nearly had a second one as time expired, but his foot was just out of bounds. He was on the field quite a bit. He played 53 snaps versus Andrews' 59, and he looked to be the preferred target of Lamar Jackson. Andrews finished with 2 receptions for 14 yards, and I don't want to say that this is a changing of the guard, but it definitely seems like Likeley and Jackson have a pretty strong connection. Likeley had a very strong finish to the season last year, and I think he's picking up right where he left off. He's currently rostered in 27% of leagues, and he needs to be picked up everywhere. This week he gets the Raiders and should have another productive outing. Number 2 on the list is Tank Bigsby. Bigsby and ETN had the same amount of carries. The only difference is Bigsby was far more productive. ETN had 12 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown, and Bigsby had 12 carries for 73 yards, and 47 of those yards were after contact. So I think it's inevitable that Bigsby's role is going to grow as the season goes on. He was used very sparingly last year as a rookie, but he is a 3rd round pick, and this team does have capital invested in him, so it wouldn't be surprising to see him get more early down work and earn some more work on 3rd down if ETN keeps struggling with fumbles. He lost a game-changing fumble today on the 1-yard line that would have put the game out of reach when the Jaguars were up 17-7, and that pretty much turned the game around. While ETN did seem to put his fumbling troubles behind him last year, in his first year, he had 5 fumbles and lost 3 of them. So he's no stranger to ball security issues. At this point, Bigsby should be picked up everywhere, not only as a handcuff, but as a 1B in this offense. I think he's going to have a consistent role moving forward. This week they play Cleveland, so it should be a tougher battle, but I think he's definitely worth rostering. Number 3 on the list is Demarcus Robinson. Robinson was pretty much locked into the WR3 role on this offense, but with Puka Nacua going down today, he might be elevated to the WR2 role. Nacua aggravated a knee injury that kept him on the injury report all week, and he ended up being carted off the field after halftime. So it wouldn't be surprising to see him miss some time. Of course, we won't know for sure until he gets an MRI, but I think at this point, it seems like he's going to miss at least 1 game. Robinson stepped up in his absence admirably, catching 4 of 7 targets for 42 yards, and he's proven that he's very capable of stepping into this number 2 role. He finished last year very strong, scoring in 4 of the last 6 games, and from weeks 13 through 17, he was the WR12 in PPR. So he's very capable, and he has a pretty good connection with Matthew Stafford. And that showed up once again tonight. Stafford looked his way in the red zone, but he was interfered with. Had it not been for that, he may have had a touchdown as well. He was already worth an add in deeper leagues, but I would definitely add him in all formats at this point. Number 4 on the list is Alec Pierce. Pierce exploded today, catching 3 of 3 targets, going for 125 yards and a touchdown. And he seemed to have a really strong connection with Anthony Richardson. I would temper my expectations a little bit, mostly because Josh Downs was out of the lineup, and just looking at Pierce's first 2 years, this seems like it might be a little bit of an outlier. Over his first 2 seasons, he's averaged around 37 catches, 550 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But I will say he hasn't had a quarterback with the talent level of Richardson, and if Richardson can stay healthy, then he may carve out a nice role in this offense. But of course, a lot of his value, at least in the immediate future, is going to be tied to the health of Joshua Downs. And even if Downs does come back, I think Pierce may be the deep threat for this team. He's probably going to be a boom-bust WR3 most weeks, but for the time that Downs is out, I think he's worth rostering. He was a 2nd-round pick and is a big body and has shown good ball skills. He can go up and get it, and I think Richardson will give him those 50-50 ball chances. I'd also keep in mind that the Colts are still going to be a run-first team for the most part behind Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson, but this week they do play the Packers, and the Packers gave up a bunch of big plays to the Eagles, so I would consider picking him up and maybe starting him as a risky WR3 with upside. Number 5 on the list is Greg Dortch. This was just a weird game plan for the Cardinals. It was pretty much the James Conner show. He had 19 touches for 83 yards and a touchdown, and he also had a 2-point conversion, and shockingly, Marvin Harrison Jr. was nowhere to be found. He finished his debut with only 1 catch for 4 yards, and even Trey McBride was kind of a ghost, finishing the game with 5 receptions for 30 yards, although he did have 9 targets. I would expect this to change drastically moving forward and for this passing offense to be better. Dortch surprisingly ended up leading the team in receiving, getting 6 catches for 47 yards, and he has shown good rapport with Kyler Murray in the past, but he's a slot guy, and I think if you're going to pick up someone like him, it has to be in deep PPR leagues. I did want to make a couple of quick honorable mentions in the kicking game. First, Chris Boswell. He scored all of Pittsburgh's points today. He nailed 6 field goals, 3 of which were over 50 yards. I think Pittsburgh may continue to struggle no matter who's at quarterback, and he's worth adding no matter what. At this point, I think Pittsburgh's going to take whatever points they can get, and if you're in a league where you get more points based on the distance of a kick, Boswell is a great ad. I also wanted to talk about Joey Slye. Joey Slye made 3 of 3 field goals today and 1 extra point. And New England's in a similar situation to Pittsburgh. Their offense may struggle, and I think they're not going to leave points on the board. And if Slye can stay healthy and keep making his kicks, he should get plenty of opportunity. Those are some waiver wire pickups ahead of week 2. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and let me know which players you think we should pick up in the comments below.